America's hidden crisis, the vicious cycle of poverty and corruption. When you think of the United States, images of prosperity and boundless opportunity likely come to mind. Yet, beneath this veneer of wealth lies a disturbing reality. A significant portion of the population is ensnared in a relentless cycle of poverty, exacerbated by systemic corruption. This video delves into the grim connection between poverty and government corruption, revealing how those in power exploit the plight of the vulnerable for personal gain. In 2022, according to the United States Census Bureau, approximately 38 million Americans lived below the poverty line, translating to an official poverty rate of 11.5%. Despite the nation's immense wealth, these numbers have remained stubbornly high, with certain demographics and regions disproportionately affected. For instance, the FRAC, the Food Research and Action Center, says children and minority groups experience higher poverty rates, with the child poverty rate more than doubling from 5% in 2021 to 12% in 2022. The Appalachian region, stretching from New York to Alabama, is particularly emblematic of this crisis. Once thriving on industries like timber and tobacco, these areas now suffer from economic decline. A crisis that Debt.org says is leaving many residents dependent on subsidies and donations to survive. This paints a grim picture of a nation where the American dream is increasingly out of reach for millions. Corruption in government exacerbates these dire conditions, creating a feedback loop that perpetuates poverty. When public funds intended for social programs are siphoned off by corrupt officials, the effectiveness of these programs is severely compromised. This misallocation of resources ensures that essential services like healthcare, education, and housing remain underfunded, directly impacting the poorest citizens. Studies by the World Bank indicate that corruption thrives in impoverished environments. Officials in lower-income areas are more likely to engage in corrupt practices to supplement their incomes, further draining resources meant for public welfare. This creates a principal-agent problem, where government officials act in their own interest rather than that of the public, leading to widespread inefficiency and graft. Shockingly, some in positions of power and influence benefit from the perpetuation of poverty. Large businesses and wealthy individuals often exploit these conditions to secure favorable policies and contracts through political patronage. The information website Profulus has said, it's this collusion that ensures that the rich get richer, while the poor remain trapped in a cycle of deprivation. For example, real estate developers and large corporations may benefit from tax breaks and subsidies designed ostensibly to stimulate economic growth, but often end up lining the pockets of the already wealthy. Meanwhile, programs aimed at alleviating poverty receive less attention and funding, leading to inadequate support for those most in need. The FRAC has highlighted the human cost of this corruption-poverty nexus as devastating. Homelessness remains a critical issue, with about 600,000 individuals living without homes in 2022. Many of these people end up in makeshift tent communities or even in storm drains beneath cities like Las Vegas, creating a stark juxtaposition against the city's opulent casinos. Food insecurity is another grim reality, affecting almost 13% of U.S. households in 2022. This issue is particularly severe among Black and Latin communities, where food insecurity rates are more than double those of white households. These disparities highlight the systemic inequities that continue to plague the nation. Addressing the intertwined issues of poverty and corruption requires a multifaceted approach. Strengthening institutional accountability, ensuring transparent governance, and prioritizing funding for social programs are essential steps. Moreover, there must be a concerted effort to dismantle the structures that allow the wealthy and powerful to exploit the system at the expense of the vulnerable. The persistence of poverty in America is not merely an economic issue, but a moral one. It calls into question the values of a society that allows such stark disparities to exist. By shining a light on these issues, we hope to spur action and change, ensuring that the American dream is attainable for all, not just the privileged few.